Okay guys, it's time for a Unit 4 essay questions. The first one is, discuss the role ice played in the formation of the current Sierra Nevada mountain range. Include in your essay 5 glacial landforms and the role ice played in creating these 5 landforms. So give me 2 sources on this essay, complete citations at the end of the essay. So during the Pleistocene epoch, which began about 2.6 million years ago and ended about 12,000 years ago, there were 4 major ice advances where the ice moved into the mid-latitudes of the northern hemisphere. In high mountain ranges around the world, including the Sierra Nevada, ice caps piled up, a few thousand feet of ice on top of the Sierra Nevada. As the ice got thicker and piled up, glaciers gradually moved outward, down slope, and helped carve out the current Sierra Nevada mountain range. 5 landforms you can mention. Number 1 might be a cirque. That's spelled C-I-R-Q-U-E. A cirque is a bowl shape or an amphitheater shaped depression that forms at the head of an alpine glacier. Head means at the beginning of an alpine glacier. So you have an area up in the mountains and say snow and ice piles up, and it gradually reaches a critical thickness of maybe 100 feet. And it will start to move out in all directions due to pressure on top. It'll cut backwards, it'll cut downward, and of course it'll move downslope in response to gravity. So when some of the snow and ice melts a little bit, you might see an actual bowl-shaped depression at the head of an alpine glacier. In the Sierra Nevada, there's not much ice left, and so a lot of these bowls, these cirques, have filled with water, and that would be called a tarn lake. So number 2 on your list, you could talk about tarns. So it's basically a cirque that has filled with water. Number 3, you can talk about horns. Those would be pointed peaks up in the mountains, usually carved out by 3 or more glaciers. So kind of a pointy peak carved out by glaciers. Glaciers carve U-shaped valleys. So you're high in the mountain, you see a nice U shape, you can pretty much figure ice carved that out. Down slope, you might see more V-shaped valleys. V-shaped valleys are generally cut by water. So you could talk about number 4 could be U-shaped valleys. Number 5 you could talk about are hanging valleys. You see these like in Yosemite Valley. I bet a lot of you have visited Yosemite Valley. So you had glaciers go through Yosemite Valley 3 or 4 times at least during the Pleistocene. And then you had smaller glaciers maybe joining the main glacier in Yosemite Valley that weren't big enough to carve down deep enough. So you have these valleys up on the hillside where maybe a tributary glacier joined, or these days where water is flowing through and creating great waterfalls, like Bridal Veil Fall is a good example in Yosemite Valley. So you could talk about cirques, tarns, horns, U-shaped valleys, and hanging valleys. Those would be a good 5. Essay question number 2, what role did Pleistocene glaciation have on the relatively non-mountainous landscape of North America? So again, there were 4 major ice advances during the Pleistocene, and you had big ice sheets, like 4 major areas where there are ice sheets around the world. One of them was located in the Hudson Bay, Greenland area. So as the snow and ice piled up in the Hudson Bay, it moved outward in all directions, including south, down into what we now call the United States. They came as far south as the Ohio and the Missouri River. So if you go north of the Ohio-Missouri River in North America, you find landforms which are called, or a landform which is called till plains. And so on the till plains, you see lots and lots of lakes. Don't they call Minnesota the land of 10,000 lakes? That's nothing. The province of Ontario in Canada, there's probably about 225,000 lakes. So as these big ice sheets, several thousand feet thick, began to move, they carved out depressions. And the ice is pretty much melted today, so a lot of these depressions have filled with lakes. The Great Lakes of the United States and Canada were carved by advanced retreat of these large continental glaciers. Also on the till plains, again north of the Ohio and the Missouri rivers, you find lots of rocks in the soil, kind of a hummocky, bumpy surface with lots of rocks. Because as the ice moved, it picked up boulders, it picked up smaller rocks, it picked up rocks of all different sizes. And when the ice melted, it just dropped all of these rocks, different sizes. And so when you go to farm up north, say in Canada, it's a little more difficult because of a lot of the rocks in the soil. If you come south of the Ohio and the Missouri rivers in the United States, it's called an outwash plain. And a lot of those deposits were laid down by meltwaters coming off of the glaciers. Fewer rocks and fewer lakes when you come south of the Ohio and the Missouri rivers. So, give me 2 citations on this essay too, 2 full citations at the end of the essay. And it's been a great semester. I appreciate you guys, and do good on the final. Let's get some good grades.